All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets today on both PrizePicks and Underdog. Let's go in and get into it. But first, just a quick recap from yesterday. So yesterday, guys, I kind of gave you two variations of a slip. We had a very good stack and opportunity with Baltimore. Unfortunately, they did not come through. Really got unlucky with Corbin Burns for him not to get his over pitching fantasy score. He had a quality start going. They put him back in, and then he gave up 2 runs for him to not get the over fantasy score. That was tilting, but it didn't really matter because the Baltimore players did not show up. However, the pitching fantasy score props basically everywhere else that we were getting. Kyle Harrison was also one that I mentioned to you guys. That was a good one, who ended up getting his over fantasy score as well. So 3 for 3 fantasy score wise from the bet of the day, and then also the Harrison one was also a good one. So kind of 4 for 4, especially if you guys caught word that Taylor Ward was out. Obviously, that would have been the next best one, and that's obviously why I do the breakdown the way that I do, so you guys can be prepared for when, if lines change and whatnot. So we are seeing a bigger edge in the pitching fantasy score prop bets. I want to point that out, especially when they correlate. That is what's going to happen. But I think the way I'm going to go about attacking these hitting fantasy score prop bets is just like this, where sure, it didn't work out yesterday, but if we can get these ones that correlate together, I will be using those. So let's go ahead and get into today. And for today, I actually want to start with some discrepancies that we have because, guys, today's board is brutal. There really is not anything. So like yesterday was pretty appealing. We were getting a lot of good pitching fantasy score prop bets, a lot of decent hitting fantasy score prop bets on both sites. That's not the case today. Today it's bad. So these two esports props, I'm comfortable running out. We are seeing a prop line difference of 1.5 for those. For one of them and then 1 for the other one at that small of a line. I'm definitely happy to take that. And we got another one here that's 1.5 for a prop line difference as well. In esports, this is CSGO 2. If you guys want to run those out, you can. And the point of this is that it's kind of a middling. You can bet the over on Underdog. Well, whatever. You can. It's a little bit different because you're betting the under here for this one on Underdog. I guess you're betting the under for both of these. So you're betting the under on Underdog for both of these and then betting the over on PrizePicks for these. That's nice. And the reason, again, why I'm calling that out is because we're not getting the biggest edges today. So let's jump into MLB. And I'll show you guys what I mean by that. And so here's going to be a good example of why we have like Chris Paddock for over his pitching fantasy score, which is going to be a good one. If this pitching strikeout prop is going to be there for you as well, that's going to be a good prop bet for you as well. I expect that to get bumped to 6 though on PrizePicks specifically there. But looking at the projection data, only has it at 25.6. So if we were to use something like this, the data correlates tab, the best pitching prop that we have today is not going to be on there. Now, this has been the case really the last 3 slates now, where the best pitching fantasy score prop that we have doesn't exactly correlate with the projection data. The last 2 times, the pitching fantasy score prop bet has been for the over. So, really, we're just using the projection data as a guidance line for us to really determine whether or not we agree with that line or not. So up to you guys whether you want to use that. Let's take a peek at some other pitching props for PrizePicks, and I'll get an Underdog. So yeah, Chris Paddock is going to be the best one there. And then no real other huge ones there. Carlos Rondon, I do want to point this out. This is one where when we adjust his fantasy score for what it should be on Underdog, it's going to be 27.5. Now it's at 28.5 if you actually look at it. This is a slightly okay potential middling opportunity. This is clearly a wrong line by one of the two. Either it's a wrong line by PrizePicks or wrong line by Underdog. I kind of like the over a little bit better on Underdog, but no need to force it in there at the same time as that, or at the same time as well. So some okay lines, but nothing too crazy. Like this is the best one that we have, and you guys can see, don't exactly love that. We'll look at the Underdog board, and we just got a free square for Underdog. Jalen Brunson points prop is going to be a free square for you guys. So are we getting any other good prop bets that we can run out? Well, we are seeing Jordan Hicks for over his fantasy score. That's going to be a good one. Dylan Cease for over his fantasy score. That's going to be a good one as well. Again, I like to stick with these pitching fantasy score prop bets the best. I think that's where we are getting our biggest edge. And so really, I think I'm going to run those 2 out with the Jalen Brunson free discounts. I shouldn't say free square, discount square that we are getting. Oh, I guess I lied. It's all 4 of these. Interesting. You can choose one. I'm probably going to go with Kyle Bradish then, whose original line was at 4.5 strikeouts. So for him to get 3.5, that shouldn't be asking too much. Him to get over 4.5 strikeouts already had a 54% chance. So it really shouldn't matter which one. I really don't mind the saves as well, but I'm going to go with Bradish then and just hope that Baltimore doesn't let me down again. And so right as I was going to show you guys this bet, they did just bump Cease's up a little bit. So we're just going to go with this too. Small, easy bet here. Max to 10, try to get a $30 payout. And so that Kyle Bradish one is already one that I was going to probably run out if it's there available for you guys. 4.5 strikeouts, that's a good one there. So you could run that out there. We are seeing Flexen for under 15.5 strikeout or outs in total. That's a good one. Let's look at some batter props as well. And this is where I do want the data to definitely correlate. So let's see where we're getting that. So Julio Rodriguez for over his fantasy score. That's a good one. We are seeing Diaz for over his fantasy score. Taylor Ward with the DNP yesterday when Philly went off. That was awesome to see. Or not Philly. LA went off. That was awesome to see. We'll see if he goes off again. Maybe that day off is going to do him well. We will see. So we are getting a decent amount of okay fantasy score prop bets. Ryan Mountcastle, who was a disappointment yesterday, is one of the better ones again today. We'll see if he can come through for us. If you guys want to use any of those, by all means, go for it. And then making the jump into NBA, Kyrie for under 4.5 rebounds is the best prop bet there. Tatum for over rebounds and assists is okay. But yeah, we're just extremely tight lines right now with the NBA playoffs. A couple of fantasy score lines that you could run out if you wanted to. I don't really have a general take on either of those. I still think the Knicks are going to be the team that pulls through to win the series. They're just the better team. It's kind of unfortunate that my Milwaukee Bucks were as banged up as they were. Also kind of found it funny at the end of the Pacers Knicks game that people were complaining about a potential game deciding call when a bunch of them were missed in game 3 of the Pacers Bucks series. That's neither here nor there. Random tangent there. But yeah, looking at guys, really tight board again today. I'm a little bit upset that the PGA props for PrizePicks are not there. We're not able to compare these lines that we are getting here against PrizePicks. Now, I do want to call it one thing, though. Look at all these lines. They're all at 3. So Underdog is putting the birdie or better lines at 3. And if we go into something like Pick 6, they have it all at 3.5. So this is just another thing to potentially look at when you're placing bets like this, when we don't have PrizePicks to compare it against. And so to me, that is certainly something to monitor. Now, the fantasy scoring is going to be much different here, but the fantasy scoring here is much more tight compared to the fantasy scoring on Pick 6 is much more loose, and the Underdog fantasy scoring is much more tight player to player. So really, you can bet it 2 ways. One, you could bet Pick 6 being more right, where everyone's at 3.5 birdies or better, or you can look at it like this, saying that, okay, well, we are getting some decent edges here for Underdog. A lot of these could potentially be pushes. The average birdies scored per round is about 3.5 or so, and so it makes sense why all of them would be projected to get around 3. I do think that these over fantasy score lines are going to be the best ones, but I do want to call out that this is a tougher event, tougher track. And so a lot of their lines, and I'll just use Chris Kirk as an example, a lot of their lines here, like for him to get his over fantasy score, he's not going to make 4 bogeys, most likely. And he probably will make 3 birdies or better. And so that's where it's weird betting on the fantasy score, because I'll show you guys the calculation here. Like if you're making 3 birdies, that's 12 points right there. And bogeys are not as bad, but if you're making 4 of those, that's a lot of points. That adds up, right? That's about 5 points then. And so it really all correlates together. The fantasy score is going to be the best because maybe they get an eagle or something. Obviously can't be making a double bogey or anything like that. So I just want to toss it out there in case anyone wants to use those PGA props. I think there's some edges there for Underdog, specifically with the over fantasy score. Hopefully the course plays easier. Should be softer conditions as well. So hopefully that helps out as well. But if you guys want to use any of those props that I use for Underdog and you've never signed up, use the promo code 9to5. That'll kick back some money my way. Do appreciate that. Let's go ahead now and get into the PrizePicks bet of the day. Already gave you guys that Underdog bet of the day. Now, originally, before the Underdog discounts were made available, I was planning on just running out the middles for these two on Underdog. So obviously buying the less here with these ones. So might not be available there for you guys. Kind of a short lifespan on those as well, because some of them are about to be locking here. But if these 2 bets are going to still be available, I like those 2 the best. You could then just run out Chris Paddock for over his pitcher fantasy score as well. But I just feel like lighter day today. The board's not that great, especially with not having any PGA props. So just going to be scaling back today because there's no need to force it. But that's going to be all for today's video. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. I do appreciate that. If you guys want access to any of the fantasy golf tools or prop tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. They're available for just $10 a month. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck today. And as always, let's keep cashing.